Hey there, cookie lovers. Welcome back to the Mountaintop Kitchen. I'm Stone, and today we're baking something big, bold, and oh so unforgettable. These are my small batch chocolate peanut butter lava rock cookies, New York style giants with a molten peanut butter center studded with chocolate and crunchy roasted peanuts. If you're into gooey surprises and bakery-worthy cookies that you can make right at home, then you're in the right place. Okay, so before we get started, let me remind you that all of the quantity measurements will be right here listed on screen in the description box below if you're watching YouTube, or you can find them in my Substack newsletter. We'll put that link below also. Okay, so let's start with the star of the show, and that is our peanut butter lava rock centers. We're going to start with 100 grams of peanut butter, 20 grams of confectioner's sugar, 14 grams of softened butter, and just a pinch of kosher salt. So let's just mix all this together. We're going to put it in one bowl, get it all in there. And our salt. And just mix that up. Mix it kind of slowly because you don't want the powdered sugar or the confectioner's sugar to kind of pop out of the bowl. So just be gentle. Give it a good mix. We want to have a nice uniform mixture. What we're going to do with this peanut butter mixture is form it into, I want to say 6 balls, but you know, we're not going to make it that perfect. We're going to just make 6 dollops that we're going to freeze and have ready to insert into our cookie dough later. So, got this just about mixed up. Give it a couple of really good vigorous stirs so that all of the sugar gets mixed in. Now we did have the sugar sifted beforehand so that it wouldn't be lumpy. Okay. All right, I'm just going to eyeball it to get 6 dollops. So let me put this to the side and bring my little quarter sheet pan over here to center stage. And I'm just going to dollop roughly 6 of these. Now, if you want to, you can put these into the refrigerator. You can put this mixture into the refrigerator to harden it up a little bit, to make it a little bit easier to make your dollops. But we're just going to go right for it. You know, it doesn't have to be anything perfect. We're just going to make 6 of these. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I'll use my trusty spatula to get the rest of this out for 6. And number 6. Okay, so I'm just going to take these and pop them into the freezer to have them ready for when we make our cookies later. I'll be right back. Okay, so let's get started with the cookie dough. We have 130 grams of brown sugar and 70 grams of white granulated sugar, about 180 grams of cold cubed butter, unsalted. And we want cold butter because it helps to maintain the shape and not spreading so much when we bake the cookies, because these are big cookies, we don't want a lot of spread. Have 1 large egg. We're going to use about a teaspoon of vanilla. Now, I like to use really good quality vanilla. This is Nielsen Massey. It's Madagascar bourbon, or I use a nice vanilla from Mexico. But today we're using this. For the dry ingredients, we have 240 grams of all-purpose flour, a teaspoon of baking powder, and a half a teaspoon of salt and a half teaspoon of baking soda. We're going to start by going ahead and whisking these dry ingredients together. Have those ready for when we need them. So everything has been sifted already, so we're just kind of mixing to incorporate to get a nice uniform dry mixture. Okay, we'll just leave that there for a minute. We're going to start by mixing the sugars here with the butter until we get a sort of a sandy mixture. So let's get the butter in here. Always have a spatula handy because you need to get everything out of these bowls and stuff sticks. I like to use mise en place, which means to have everything ready and measured out before I start baking. It does use less bowls if you do it all in one bowl, but you know, I'm going to forget an ingredient if I do that. Okay, I also have some mix-ins too. I have some nice 70% dark chocolate that I've chopped up into big chunks, and you do want to use big chunks. You can use chocolate chips, but I recommend against it because they don't melt very well, and this chopped up chocolate really does melt nicely. And I have about 80 grams of roasted peanuts that I've chopped up, and I've separated that into 2 halves because we're going to use half of it inside of the cookie mixture, and we're going to roll our cookie dough in the other half. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this mixed up. We'll let that mix for just a little bit, and we'll be right back. Okay, our butters and sugars our butter and sugars are mixing nicely together, our cold sugar. Let's go ahead and put in our egg, our 1 large egg, and about a teaspoon of vanilla. I'm just going to eyeball it. Okay, that's mixed up nicely. So now we're going to add in our dry mixture, which is our flour and our baking powder, baking soda, and salt. And we're going to start that on slow. And it might be a good idea to just throw a tea towel over your bowl so that the flour doesn't go flying out. We're going to pulse it at first, so we should be okay. I'm keeping an eye on it. Okay. Let's give it a scrape down. You can see it's forming into a really nice thick cookie dough already. Let's get some of this flour off the side of the bowl and check the bottom to make sure that we don't have any butter hanging out down there or flour or anything nefarious. We want to get it all mixed in really well. Okay, continue mixing that. You don't want to overmix because you do not want to develop the gluten. We don't want to have tough cookies. Okay, so let's go ahead and mix in our half of peanuts, plop, and our chocolate, and give that a good mix. And there you go. We have our cookie dough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this cookie dough out. I'm going to pop it in the fridge for about 15 minutes just so it's a little bit easier to form into our balls. So we'll be right back. Okay, we're back and we've done quite a bit of cleanup. We have our cookie dough ready. We have our lava centers, our peanut butter lava centers ready. They're frozen and nice and hard. We can pick them up. We have our chopped up roasted peanuts ready to roll our cookies in. And so let's get started. Remember, this is a small batch of 6 big cookies. So we're going to measure out about 130 grams for each cookie, and that should use up all the dough. So if you don't have a scale, you can just kind of eyeball it, but we have a scale, so we're going to make these 130 each. And we're getting close. Okay, a little bit more. Oops. And a little bit more. Okay, 130 right there. A little bit too much. So let's put that back in. We're just going to form this into a ball and then sort of make like a little nest. So we're just making a little nest here. We're going to take one of our frozen lava centers, place it right in there, and make sure that we completely enclose it in the ball of cookie dough because we don't want our lava seeping out. And we can go ahead and roll it a little bit in our nuts right now. So let's going to put that on our cookie tray that I have lined with parchment paper. And let's start with the next ball. That's exactly 130. So let me form it into a little nest. Take one of our frozen centers, put it in there, and we're going to close it in. Just close it in really good. It doesn't have to be perfectly round. And we're going to roll that into our nuts. And we have the second one. Keep going, same thing. 130 grams. A little too much. Okay, there's 130. Make our nest again. Grab one of our frozen peanut butter lava rock centers. Completely enclose that. Make sure you seal that in real good. It's okay if it seeps out a little bit, but we do want it to be a surprise, so we want to make sure that it stays inside. And we'll go ahead and roll that into our nuts again, and put that right there. Let's get our fourth one, 130 grams. Okay, that's about 130 grams right there. And form it into a nest. Grab another lava center and enclose it. Pinch around to make sure you get it in there. Now, the way that I came up with this recipe was a lot of trial and error, but I was recently vacationing in the Grand Canyon, and I ate a muffin that had chocolate and peanuts in it, and I just really loved it. I didn't think much about it, but then a few days after I left the Grand Canyon, I was staying in Flagstaff, and I went to a candy store that's right downtown in Old Flagstaff called the Sweet Shop, appropriately. And the young lady in there asked me if I'd like to try their peanut butter fudge, their peanut butter chocolate fudge. And so I said, why not? And I tried it and it was so creamy, chocolate lean peanut butter. And I said, the universe is talking to me because this is the second time in this trip that I've had chocolate and peanut butter together. And so I just had a thought as I was walking around downtown Flagstaff, I'm going to cookify these flavors with my own recipe. So that's what I'm doing. All right, 130 grams, almost there. Okay, there we go. And you want to make sure you spread these out about 3 inches at least on your cookie sheet because they will spread a little bit and you do not want them to run together. Okay, so we're closing this one in. This is our 5th cookie. Get it closed in really nicely. And let's go ahead and cover this with peanuts. All right, and our last one should be close to 130. And it's a little bit under, but that's okay. And we're going to go ahead and form our nest. Put in our lava center, our frozen lava center, and cover that up. Fold it in really nicely again. Okay. Now, these are super big cookies. You can make these smaller if you want. You'll have to adjust the bake time, of course, and temperature. I am baking at a high altitude, but with these cookies, I've tested them from sea level to 7,200 feet, and they're fine with this recipe that I'm giving you. You don't have to really make any adjustments. So keep that in mind. Although with all of my bakes, I do provide some adjustments for baking at higher elevations. But with these cookies, you really don't have to worry about it. So here they are. We have 6. I should spread them out a little bit further. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pop these into the freezer for at least an hour before I bake them. And the reason I'm doing that is I don't want them to spread very much. And so if they're frozen, when they bake, they're not going to spread out. We already used cold butter for that purpose, and now we're going to freeze these doughs. You freeze for about an hour, 2 hours if you can, or even overnight. So we already have some frozen, so we're going to pop these in the freezer, get the other ones out. Be right back. Okay, so we're back. Our dough balls are solid, hard, frozen. You can't squeeze them or anything like that. The great thing about making this kind of a dough ball cookie is that you can freeze them and bake them later. So today we're only going to bake 2 of these. So let's take 1 and 2 and just to see how they bake up. And we're going to put the rest of them in the freezer. And we'll bake these at a later time. How's that? So we just put these in a Ziploc bag, put them in the freezer, and we're done. Okay, so we have our 2 cookies here. You want to keep these about 3 inches apart on your parchment paper so that they have a little room to spread. So here we go. I have the oven set just above 350 convection. So let's pop these in. Again, we'll have in the description below, we'll have all the bake times for the different kinds of ovens, and you can also see that in the Substack. Okay, so those are in the oven. We're going to bake them for 18 to 20 minutes until they're nice and golden brown. Then we're going to take them out, let them cook a little bit longer on the cookie sheet, and then move them over to a cooling rack until they're cool. So we'll be right back when these cookies come out in about 18 to 20 minutes. Okay, these babies are ready to test now. They're 4 inches wide and more than a ½ inch thick. They smell and look delicious. But before we get started, if you haven't subscribed already, how about clicking that little button down there? And remember, you can get the full recipe at our Substack newsletter. The link is in the description box below. And so let's move on and get ready to test these. Okay, I'm going to take this closest one to me right here and bite into it. Look at this. Those nuts on top, the nice golden cookie, pools of melted dark chocolate. This is really good. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Now this is going to be a mouthful, so excuse me. The peanuts on top, the roasted peanuts on top, give this such a delightful little crunch. Plus the granulated white sugar gives the edge and the outer crust a nice crunch. But that brown sugar gives such a nice chewy center to the cookie. And of course, the chocolate inside and the peanut butter surprise, the molten peanut butter lava that's in there, is so good. I really would love for you to try this recipe. And if you do, how about posting some pictures and hashtagging us at mountaintopkitchen.com or just Mountaintop Kitchen, that's fine. Okay, I'm gonna get another bite of this. I wanna dig into the molten center. That peanut butter in the center is so good. Right alongside the chocolate and the crunchy peanuts. The cookie itself isn't terribly sweet, which is really good because you have that nice sweet peanut butter in there and the chocolate, but it's just sweet enough to want to eat some more. Yum. Well, thanks for joining us today on Mountaintop Kitchen, and we'll see you next time. Bye. So good. Please try this recipe. If you like peanut butter and chocolate, you're going to love this cookie.